One by one, she demonstrated her command over the earth, water, and wind elements, leaving the administrators in awe of her triple-element control. They marveled at her skillful manipulation and realized the depth of her understanding. Just when they thought her presentation was over, Gu Yue stunned them by revealing her control over the fire element as well. The administrators were left speechless, witnessing a first in the history of the Duluo continent, someone who wielded all four elements. Not only that, but her mental power had broken through to the spirit realm. As she concluded her demonstration by creating a mesmerizing ball composed of all the elements, Elder Kai couldn't help but smile, acknowledging Gu Yue's extraordinary talent. Z couldn't help but wonder how the judges would rate Gu Yue's performance. Elder Kai, on the other hand, was overjoyed. She chuckled gleefully, thoroughly enjoying Gu Yue's display of talent. With a smile, she informed Zhou Shi that Gu Yue wouldn't need to go through any more trials. Instead, she insisted that Gu Yue should directly enter the inner court. Wu Lin couldn't believe what he was hearing. Zhou Shi tried to reason with Elder Kai, reminding her that it went against the Academy's rules. However, Elder Kai was adamant, simply stating that it was possible because she said so. Approaching Gu Yue, she asked if she would like to become her disciple. Z and Wu Lin eagerly encouraged her to accept the offer, seeing it as a great opportunity. To their surprise, Gu Yue declined, stating that she didn't want to. They were taken aback. This angered Elder Kai, who demanded to know the reason behind Gu Yue's decision. In a fit of anger, Gu Yue responded that she didn't have a reason, she just didn't want to. Shun Yi tried to persuade her, highlighting Elder Kai's prestigious position as an elder of Shrek Academy's revered sea gods pavilion and the renowned Duluo, the Silver Moon, standing at the pinnacle of the continent. However, Gu Yue made it clear that it had nothing to do with that. They couldn't understand why she would turn down such a remarkable opportunity to enter the inner court directly. Gu Yue then revealed that she declined because Elder Kai had struck Wu Lin, and she didn't want to be her disciple because of that. Wu Lin interjected, assuring her that he was fine and urging her to think it through. Elder Kai defended herself, claiming that she had only used a bit of force to send him flying, and she was certain that she hadn't harmed him. Gu Yue then asked if they would be separated if she entered the inner court, stating that she would only go if they could join her. Elder Kai was fuming. She found Gu Yue to be quite a handful and had completely given up on her. She no longer cared and decided to walk away. Wu Lin couldn't understand why Gu Yue would pass up such an incredible opportunity. He was shocked that she had rejected Elder Kai's offer. However, Gu Yue's reason for declining was that Elder Kai had hit Wu Lin, leaving her feeling unhappy. Z and Xiaoyan praised Gu Yue for her awesomeness and honesty. Shun Yi was also furious. She was angry at Gu Yue for turning down the amazing offer and didn't know what to say to her. Many people dreamed of becoming Elder Kai's disciple. Wu Lin apologized and asked if they could proceed with their exam. Shun Yi informed a teacher, hoping they could calm down Elder Kai's anger. Z then asked about the points they received for the fourth trial. Shun Yi responded angrily that they all received 0 points. Z thought it was too harsh, while Xiaoyan questioned if Shrek Academy was biased or if they had offended Elder Kai. Shun Yi explained that if Elder Kai had said they had 0 points, then that would have been final, and no one could argue. With 0 points, they were unable to enter the inner courts. Impatient, Gu Yue urged Shun Yi to move on and let them take the next test. The fifth trial would focus on their talents, which were considered their second profession. Shun Yi then instructed Wu Lin and his team to accompany her for their sixth challenge. In this trial, they had to consume 15 buns to pass, with an extra point awarded for every 5 additional buns eaten. The catch was that they couldn't use their spirit power while eating. Wu Lin realized that this trial was more about willpower than appetite. When he asked if they could assist each other, Shun Yi agreed. Wu Lin was thrilled at the prospect of eating without restrictions. Z and Xiaoyan waited patiently as Shun Yi set a 30-minute time limit. Despite their slow start, they were confident in Wu Lin's abilities. True to their confidence, Wu Lin finished Xiaoyan's, Z's, and Gu Yue's portions of buns. The chef was amazed by his voracious appetite as he devoured a total of 148 buns within the time limit, showing no signs of slowing down. Shun Yi made her way to Elder Kai's office to deliver some important news. She informed Elder Kai that the leftover buns had been taken, and it seemed like Wu Lin had devoured the majority of them. Surprisingly, all 4 of them had received full points for their 6th trial. Elder Kai realized that she did not need to give them any bonus points secretly. She couldn't help but wonder if Wu Lin's incredible strength had something to do with his insatiable appetite. Curiosity piqued, Elder Kai also wondered where Zhou Shi had managed to find those little monsters. It seemed like their 7th trial would test their endurance, as it was a marathon split into 3 challenging tests. The first test required them to run 10 kilometers, followed by squatting 50 kilograms 1,000 times, and finally completing 1,000 chin-ups. To receive full marks, they had to finish all 3 tests within an hour. Every additional 10 minutes would cost them 1 point. As long as they completed all the tests, they would pass the 7th trial. Wulin realized that he and Z would breeze through this trial as they were physically inclined. However, he knew it would be a struggle for Xiaoyan and Gu Yue, who were not as physically strong. He decided to inquire about the total number of trials and the points needed to pass. It turned out there were 10 trials in total, and they needed 60 points to pass. Putting his quick thinking to use, Wulin deduced that even if Gu Yue and Z scored 0 points in this trial, they would still be able to pass if they accumulated enough points in the remaining trials. It was clear that they needed to conserve their energy for the last 3 trials. Wulin then asked about the number of points allocated for each of the 3 endurance tests. Shenni informed him that there were 2 points for each test. With this information, Wulin decided to inform Gu Yue and Z that they only needed to complete the 10-kilometer run, and they could skip the other 2 tests. Z would take care of all 3 tests on his own. With their plan in place, they eagerly began their next challenge. Wulin explained that they needed to conserve their energy for the final 3 trials since their bodies weren't strong enough to complete the chin-ups and squats. Shen Yi was impressed by Wulin's analytical skills at such a young age. After completing all 3 tests, they had a short break before Wulin asked about their points. Wulin had 50 points, Gu Yue had 38, Z had 48, and Xiaoyan had 40. The 8th trial involved a battle against a current Shrek Academy student, lasting 10 minutes to pass. Wulin, Gu Yue, and Z were confident, but Xiaoyan faced a challenge. Shen Yi clarified that they would take the trial one by one. Wulin raised the question of whether they could have a say in the order of their battles, and Shen Yi had no objections. Among the 10 opponents, there were both formidable and weaker ones, making their choice crucial in determining their performance. The only rule of this trial was that they couldn't use their soul devices during the battles. Wulin had already devised the order for them. He would go first, followed by Z, then Gu Yue, and finally Xiaoyan. This strategic order was to buy time for Xiaoyan to unleash her Star Wheel Ice Staff with the help of Nightfall. Now, it was time for them to select their opponents. Z impulsively made his choice, but Wulin intervened, reminding him that they were in the renowned Shrek Academy, where their opponents might not be as they appeared. Viewing the opponents from a different perspective could provide a more accurate assessment. Shen Yi admired Wulin's leadership skills and his ability to consider various conditions and situations deeply. Z decided to take a closer look, realizing he needed to avoid choosing a battle control type Spirit Master opponent to prevent being suppressed. As he observed the opponents, he found the perfect match and selected number 2. Xiaoyan chose number 6 as her opponent, while Gu Yue opted for number 1. Finally, Wulin chose number 10 as his opponent. Shen Yi then declared herself as the match supervisor, instructing them to follow her commands. If she signaled them to stop at any moment, they were to comply. They all responded affirmatively. Shen Yi motivated everyone to be mindful of their attacks to avoid causing harm to their opponents. Wulin prepared himself for the battle ahead. His adversary possessed 3 spirit rings, 2 yellow and 1 purple, indicating she was likely an agility-type spirit master. However, to Wulin's surprise, she suddenly unleashed an attack with snowflakes, revealing a different side to her abilities. Despite her speed, she did not exhibit the typical traits of an agility-type spirit master. The diversity of talents at Shrek Academy never ceased to amaze Wulin. In order to buy time for Xiaoyan, Wulin had to play defensively. His opponent, misinterpreting his strategy as cowardice, summoned a massive leopard to finish the match. Wulin attempted to restrain her with his blue-silver grass, but she countered with a powerful second spirit skill, catching him off guard. The ground turned into a frozen sheet beneath their feet. She strongly advised Wulin to abandon the fight. Z then exclaimed that the snow leopard claw possessed the power of a 1,000-year level spirit skill ring, warning that anyone struck by it would experience dizziness for 5 whole seconds. Wulin fixed his gaze on the leopard and skillfully defended against its relentless attacks using the blue-silver impaling array. Suddenly, the leopard lunged at him with its massive claw, but Wulin swiftly shielded himself with his golden dragon claw. The arena was engulfed in a cloud of smoke, and his opponent believed she had emerged victorious. Approaching Shen Yi, she confidently declared the match over. However, to her astonishment, Wulin emerged from the smoke, boldly stating that her tricks held no power over him. She stood there dumbfounded, questioning how Wulin could still stand and fight after enduring her devastating attack. Wulin stood tall, his resolve unshaken, and with a hint of pride and confidence, he inquired if she had any other formidable tricks up her sleeve. As the standoff dragged on, Wulin's adversary seethed with anger. Shen Yi too was taken aback by Wulin's unscathed state. Determined to end the battle swiftly, Wulin's opponent decided to launch a single devastating attack. With fierce determination, she unleashed a snowstorm upon him. However, Wu Lin remained steadfast, patiently waiting for the opportune moment to strike. His opponent refused to let him dictate the flow of the battle and pressed on with her assault. Meanwhile, Wu Lin skillfully employed delaying tactics, biding his time. After 25 minutes, Shun Yi remarked that the outcome of the fight was still undecided. Wu Lin's opponent noticed that the blue-silver grass was gradually losing its luster, signaling that the end was near. Seizing the moment, she launched another snowstorm attack, confident that victory was within her grasp. Charging towards Wu Lin, she grabbed his shoulder, only to be astonished by his unyielding resilience. Wu Lin glared at her fiercely, declaring that it was now his turn. Gripping her hand, he struck her with his golden dragon claw. Darkness enveloped his opponent as she fell unconscious. Shun Yi marveled at the terrifying power of the snowstorm and questioned what had transpired. Z, unable to see anything, joined in the confusion. Everyone eagerly awaited the revelation of the victor. Suddenly, Wu Lin emerged from the storm, carrying his defeated opponent. Shun Yi was shocked and demanded that he release her. She chastised him for his recklessness, while his teammates marveled at his cunning tactics, finding them truly remarkable. Shun Yi couldn't help but admire Wu Lin's patience and skill, especially considering his young age. Wu Lin yelled at Z, cautioning him to be careful. Z pondered about the kind of adversary he was facing. With compressed air that could explode, Z understood the danger of getting hit by the airwave. He had to dodge the wave of fury, even if it meant depleting his last ounce of spirit power. Using his Shadow Dragon clones to confuse his opponent, Z managed to anger him. The speed of the Shrek students impressed everyone. Realizing his physical strength was waning, Z knew he had to end the attack swiftly. Employing his Light Dragon Storm, he launched an assault. His opponent, noticing his dwindling spirit power, questioned his ability to continue the fight. The other Shrek students noticed this and encouraged their friend to deliver the final blow. They were certain the victor would soon be determined. Z was confident that his 3 Light Dragon clones and Light Dragon Storm combined would be effective. His opponent had no escape. However, his opponent remained calm. Suddenly, he unleashed the controlling crane capturing dragon technique. Z couldn't believe his eyes. He found himself floating in mid-air, completely shocked by what was happening. To make matters worse, all of his clones had vanished without a trace. Wu Lin, on the other hand, was equally surprised to see Z's Light Dragon Storm dissipate. He couldn't help but wonder how his opponent knew about the secret art of the Tang sect, the controlling crane capturing dragon technique. Who was this guy? As Wu Lin's spirit ring glowed once again, he took control of the situation. He swiftly placed Z back on the ground and prepared to deliver a punch. However, Z had exhausted all his spirit power and could only rely on his agility to dodge the incoming attacks. It was clear that he was overwhelmed. Shun Yi, witnessing Z's struggle, decided to end the match. Z felt a sense of gratitude towards his opponent. As he made his way back to his team, they immediately asked about his well-being. Z apologized and couldn't hold back his tears. His teammates tried to console him, assuring him that he had done his best. But Gu Yue wasn't as forgiving. She urged everyone to ignore Z, believing that his defeat still haunted him. Despite the passage of 5 minutes, Z couldn't shake off his disappointment. He felt terrible for losing. Wu Lin encouraged him, stating that he had done a good job. Gu Yue, who was still beefing with Z, called him weak, and Xiao Yan urged her to leave him be. Wu Lin, however, informed Z that he made a mistake in his strategy. His clones used up a lot of spirit power. His opponent also used his 1,000 spirit skill. Wu Lin wondered how his rate of consumption could be any lower than Z's. Z had 3 clones, so if he had sent them in different directions, he had twin spirit essences and the mysterious heaven method. And even if the final were to lose, he wouldn't have been able to do anything. Wu Lin felt that he should have lasted at least 10 minutes. Z sensed this and wondered why he couldn't fight a guy who had 1,000 spirit skills. He realized that he had a chance to get a perfect score. Wu Lin nevertheless encouraged him, hoping that he was well and he was not hurt. Z defiantly stated that the next time they would fight, he would definitely win. Shun Yi marveled at Wu Lin's analytical abilities, finding them very accurate. The next set of players entered the battle. Gu Yue faced off against student number 1. This match held great significance for Gu Yue, requiring her to maintain focus and avoid any mistakes. The third round commenced with Gu Yue's opponent signaling his readiness with 3 purple spirit rings. Student number 2 possessed 2 yellow spirit rings and 1 purple. Wu Lin pondered if he was stronger than student number 2 as he initiated his assault. Wu Lin's strength impressed everyone, revealing he was a formidable adversary. Summoning a lion mastiff, Z was taken aback by the massive creature. As the lion mastiff materialized, Z questioned its nature as a spirit skill or spirit soul, and if it was a summoning type spirit essence. Despite doubts, the lion mastiff did not resemble a typical soul elder's summon. Urging caution, Z warned Gu Yue. Student number 1 commanded his lion to attack with a roaring skill. Gu Yue remained composed, leaving everyone curious about her strategy. Spectators yelled for her to evade, recognizing the vast power gap. The lion mastiff unleashed flames, signaling the end. Gu Yue's ice ball failed to counter the attack, highlighting the disparity in their abilities. With no chance of victory, Gu Yue turned and departed. Z couldn't believe it. Did Gu Yue really think he was the hero in an action movie? Gu Yue calmly stated that there was no point in sticking around as the winner had already been determined. She advised Z not to overreact like a fool. Z felt irritated. Suddenly, her ice ball started to expand. Wulin was shocked. Student number 1 discovered that Gu Yue's attack had defeated his lion mastiff. She had summoned sharp ice picks that were deadly. The ice picks began to assault student number 1. Shen Yi then understood that the victor had been declared, and there was no need for further competition. She shielded student number 1. Gu Yue's attack was too powerful, capable of causing death or serious injury.